Friday morning to everyone. Today I wanted to speak about self-compassion. I have a lot of clients that are dealing with anxiety or self-image issues. And I would imagine that this is pretty universal for all of us. I know it is for me. We had talked about mindfulness of thoughts in the mindfulness masterclass last time. And one of the things about thoughts is that often they're very self-critical. We have these mean voices in our heads. And so self-compassion is a really powerful tool that we can use in order to counteract those voices and give ourselves the opportunity to be kind and to be more resilient ultimately. And that's what all of the research shows, is that self-compassion is something that really allows us to show up in the world with more resilience, more kindness towards ourselves, and ultimately helps us to be more effective in the world ultimately, and more in harmony with ourselves and with others. So one of the main researchers in this field is Kristen Neff. She is a teacher and researcher at the University of Texas. She's done a lot of work on self-compassion, and she breaks self-compassion down into three main categories, or three characteristics, I guess is a better way of putting it. The first characteristic is self-kindness. So the ability to be kind to ourselves, to let go of that critical voice that we often have, and to treat ourselves more like a friend. So a question we might be able to ask ourselves is, am I treating myself in the same way that I would treat a friend who is experiencing the situation that I'm experiencing? And how can I alter that voice? How can I be kind to myself? How can I treat myself as a friend would treat me if I were to relate these circumstances to a friend? So self-kindness is the first component. The second component is common humanity. One of the things that is often happening if we're experiencing distress in our lives and the voice is getting louder and more critical is a feeling of isolation, as if we're alone in these struggles that we're experiencing, whether that is stress or overwhelm from just our daily jobs. It could be a big transition, it could be a breakup, it could be the loss of a loved one. This sense of being alone with our experience, and the isolation that comes with that. So what we're doing when we're practicing self-compassion is we're realizing that this is really just a human experience that we're having, and that everybody experiences these things in their own ways. So a question that we can ask ourselves is, are there other people who are feeling this way too? And just to kind of acknowledge that this is part of life and that we're not alone in this experience. The third component of self-compassion, according to Neff's research, is mindfulness. So this is the mindfulness broadcast, and obviously we're focused on how mindfulness can help us in our lives. And so it's pretty great that mindfulness is a key component of self-compassion. Really what we're trying to do again is just bring the flashlight of awareness to our own experience, to be aware of these thoughts as they're occurring, to pause as much as we can, not just in our practice, but throughout the day, and ask ourselves, what am I thinking? What's that voice in my head saying? And can I poke at it a little bit? Is there a story that I'm telling myself? Is there a way that this voice is relating to me that is unhelpful? And can I change that? So, one really helpful way that I find to understand self-compassion is to compare it to something that I grew up with. And I'm dating myself here, but I grew up in the 80s. And in the 80s, the real big idea was not self-compassion, but self-esteem. I don't know if anybody here ever kind of got into a self-esteem kick or heard that being bandied about either through books or, coaches, these kinds of things. And it's not to say that self-esteem is inherently bad. It is to say, however, that self-esteem can be tricky insofar as what we're doing with self-esteem is we're looking outward. Self-esteem is really an evaluation of how we compare to other people. Um, and as a result of it being outward facing, it's often something that doesn't allow us to focus on things that we can control. It's really just about how we compare to what other people are doing. And it can be really brittle. And what the research has started to show is that the flip side of self-esteem is narcissism. So it's kind of being really consumed with ourselves and our own achievements and how we compare. And often what that does is it prevents us from being able to relate and connect to other human beings. Whereas when we look at self-compassion, again, one of the main components of self-compassion is this common humanity, this universality of human experience that actually allows us to connect more easily with other people. And that has a lot of downstream benefits. So I'd like to invite you to do a little practice with this. We can really resource ourselves with self-compassion as a practice. And it's a few basic steps. The first is the awareness. Like, what is it? What is that voice saying? What is it that's making us feel like we're not able to feel at home in ourselves? And then the second part is to find the sense of care that we naturally have as human beings. And then the third part is just to acknowledge that this is a resource. So I'll just go ahead and take you through that exercise briefly before I send you on your way. So I would invite you, if it's comfortable, to close your eyes. And if that's not comfortable, it's okay. You can just gaze at the floor in front of you with nothing in particular in focus. And just connect with your breath. Connect with the sensation of being held in space. You can feel the pressure underneath you and notice that it's supporting you. And then bring your awareness to any sense that you have, any voice that might be critical, any sense of not quite feeling okay, not quite feeling at home in yourself. Could be a belief, could be a way that you wish you could measure up to someone else. Whatever that narrative is, just call it to mind. Insofar as it's possible, allow it to be a little bit distant. Just observe it. There could be some emotional content related to it. Could be frustration or sadness, anger. Notice if there's any place in your body where you're sensing that. And then acknowledge that what you're experiencing is being experienced by many other people. That this is what it's like to be a human and that it's okay. And acknowledge that you're not alone in this experience. So many of us are walking around with these critical voices in our heads. And now I would like you to call to mind someone in your life, either in your present life or even someone from your past, for whom care and love are uncomplicated and easy. So often, this could be a grandparent or a favorite aunt or uncle, could even be a spiritual entity if you have a religious figure, a saint. It could be a pet. Whoever or whatever this is, just call them to your mind as clearly as you can. Imagine as if they're in front of you in this moment and offer them your care. Feels comfortable, you can offer these words. May you be well. May you be free from fear. May you be happy. May you be at peace. And allow yourself to just notice how they receive this care from you. And notice how it feels to care. Notice if there's any shifts in the sensations in your body. And then imagine that they're returning this care to you. Imagine them speaking these words. May you be well. May you be free from fear. May you be happy. May you be at peace. And allow yourself to feel that care. Again, notice if you have any shift in the physical sensations in your body. And allow those to expand and settle. And lastly, offer yourself this same care. May I be well. May I be free from fear. May I be happy. May I be at peace. And if it feels comfortable, you can place a hand on your heart or any other part of your body. This has been proven to help activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And then acknowledge that this is a resource that you have. This is a part of your resilience as a human being, and that you can return to this practice and this place when you're facing whatever challenges you may be facing. And now I'd invite you to just return to the room. Gently open your eyes and say hello again to Friday morning. I wish you a lovely day and a lovely weekend.